Our first story, the National Democratic Congress on Wednesday stayed away from an inter-party advisory committee meeting called by the Electoral Commission. The meeting, the first IPAC session to be hosted by the new chairperson, Jean Mensah, was to set dates for a limited voters registration exercise and exhibition and referendum on the creation of new regions. National organizer of the opposition National Democratic Congress, Kofi Adams, says the EC deliberately sidelined the party from participating in the meeting and that the party received the invitation way too late. This, according to him, demonstrates the new chairperson's disrespect and for the party as well as her incompetence.
I'm not aware if all political parties were there. If they managed to get all these political parties there, but decided not to include the NDC because of the way and manner they went about the invitation, it means that they have a motive. The current commissioner, Jean Mensah, and her deputies have a motive against the NDC. The disrespect must be stopped. We, as a political party, our director of administration received our invitation today at 14 minutes after 12, inviting us for a meeting at 1 p.m. at the Electoral Commission headquarters, IPAC meeting room. How can a political party that you expect to attend a meeting be sent invitation on the day of the meeting at 12:14 p.m. and expecting us to be there for a meeting that was going to be at 1 o'clock? So clearly, it tells you that they really didn't want us to be there. They don't want to involve us, but we are going to take this matter on seriously. We told the people of this country when Mrs. Jean Mensah and her team were appointed that they have an agenda, they want to come and misbehave, and that's exactly what they have started. This level of incompetence, this disrespect must not be allowed. You can't run the Electoral Commission this way. We have seen the running of Electoral Commission under Dr. Kujua Farijan. We have seen it under Madame Charlotte Osei. Never had political party been invited, send invitation letter for a meeting on the day of the meeting. We have not also been invited to meetings with just a photocopied letter. We are sent a letter, an original letter, properly signed. We're not doing a general letter, photocopying it and coming to give to us on the day of the meeting at 12:14 p.m. to attend the meeting at 1 p.m. That's not right.
The NDC's absence from the IPAC meeting did not stop the EC's meeting. It announced September 16 to 25 as the date for the limited voters registration exercise and exhibition, and December 27 for the referendum on the creation of new regions. The limited voters registration exercise for the 45 districts in the 6 areas to be carved out for the new regions will be conducted online. Mr. Jakwasu adds that the modalities for the referendum will soon be finalized and published, and the LI presented to Parliament once it resumes sitting.
On the limited registration exercise, let me put it this way. We scheduled it to be in 2 phases, okay? The first phase will be covering the areas which have been carved out for the referendum. We are talking about the 6 areas: the Western North, the OT, the Ahafo, the Bono East, the Savannah, and then the Northeast regions. We have in all about 47 districts in those areas. So the first phase of the registration will be from the 16th of September to the 25th of September, a 10-day exercise in those areas. Then it's going to be an online registration anyway. Then we'll move the equipment from there to the rest of the districts in the country, where we'll be doing the continuous voters registration exercise. You see, now when we're doing our voters registration, we have the offline and then the online. The offline is where we use the biometric voters registration kits, where we go to the polling stations or the electoral areas, you register, and on a daily basis, the registered data is exported to hit the data center in Accra here. So it takes a lot of time. But online, as and when you register, the data moves straight to our data center, and then the register can be printed immediately. That's why we're saying that with the 6 carved out areas where the referendum will be conducted, we're going to do the online so that we can make up for time. Then we'll move from those areas to the other parts of the country where we're going to do the continuous voters registration. The modalities for the continuous are yet to be fashioned out with the political parties. Now, the CI for the referendum, the law which will regulate the referendum, is currently at the drafting stage. It will be laid before Parliament, and I wouldn't want to preempt the content.
Mr. Jekpasu, meanwhile, says the NDC has not officially communicated why they could not show up for the meeting. He, however, considered notice for the meeting was short.
NDC, no, they've not communicated officially to us why they were absent today. Looking at the schedule of activities, you know, election activities are time-bound, and looking at the time we are commencing activities now, any delay, you know, in rolling out any of our activities can affect the date for the referendum. And it will not be proper to send this referendum to 2019. Otherwise, it will impact on the other preparatory activities towards the DLE and then 2020. We concede that this approach to this IPAC meeting has not been the way it used to be. But as stakeholders in this business of election, they know, all the parties know that at times we have pressure, and they do respond positively to the pressure. We're only assuring the parties that moving forward, things will be done in a much more better manner.
Well, the NPP, PPP and the PNC have been reacting to the absence of the NDC at the IPAC meeting.
Oh, no, this is a meeting of political parties. We don't need specific quorum to take decisions here. So if they were here, fine, that would have been okay. But I think that there may be one or two parties who were also not here. But for me, I think they will quickly get over this winning period that they need to win themselves of. I think it's important they do so, because we cannot always have what we want at all times. And I think that, I don't know if it is they are concerned about the chairperson or the commissioners. Why? Maybe it is because they didn't receive the invitation early, of which all of us were affected.
Well, certainly it was short. I received mine, I think, a day or so ago. Yes, it was short, but we've received such notices on that short notice in the past also, and we've all shown up.
They did not show up.
I was surprised that I didn't see the usual General Secretary, the National Chairman there, because they've received such short notices in the past and they've made themselves available. I would have also thought that at least if they felt that none of them, because we have seats for 4 to 5 members of every political party, that they would at least respond to the mail by saying we are unable to attend. So that when the question was raised by one of our members there, in the absence of the NDC, the EC could have been on their feet to tell us that this is the reason why they didn't show up. But obviously, they just ignored the message completely, which I don't think it's an example for other political parties to do.
My party, through me, we got a call just some few minutes to 5 o'clock Monday evening, inviting us to this meeting without a letter coming, without an email, without a text message. And so if you give a notice, which is this short, I don't think it will augur well for us. Indeed, I protested and I raised an issue on it. And the response that came was that this is an emergency meeting. But clearly speaking, if you look at the agenda, what we discussed today, I am still not convinced that this constitutes an emergency.
Still on election-related issues, former chairperson of the Electoral Commission of Ghana says Ghana's electoral system is robust enough to avoid cheating without detection. He said the EC has developed an electoral system which is transparent with inbuilt integrity that makes cheating impossible. Dr. Kwadwo Afari-Gyan was speaking at Accra Dialogue organized by Media General. He concluded political parties are now believing that elections are really won or lost at the polling station. due to the credible system put in place.
Electoral system is robust in the extent to which it can prevent cheating by politicians and voters, as well as deliberate wrongdoing by election officials. In my view, the EC has gone a long way towards creating a transparent electoral system with inbuilt integrity such that it is virtually impossible to cheat without detection. Let me briefly describe the characteristics of the system in 4 steps. 1. Political parties are given representation at every key point in the electoral process, including voter registration, ballot printing, transportation of sensitive materials, and voting. 2. The overall outcomes of the system are verifiable. That is to say, we can ascertain the authenticity of the outputs of the various processes, and we can trace any misdeed to the point where it occurred. 3. There is always an audit trail of election materials as they are moved from the head office through the regions to the districts and to the polling stations. And 4, during elections, there are clear guidelines as to valid and invalid votes. The counting of votes is done at every polling station in the presence of the agents of the candidates. The results are certified by the presiding officer as well as the agents of the candidates, each of whom gets a copy of the certified results. And then the results are publicly declared at the polling station. So, moderator, in a meaningful sense, that is the end of the election. Because from then on, what happens is simply adding up the votes obtained by each candidate in all the polling stations in the respective constituency. Any mistake or wrongdoing committed in the votes collation process are detectable and correctable. That is why the Commission has said time and again that under our electoral system, elections are won or lost at the polling stations and not in the Commission's offices.
Yeah, the Electoral Commission must build durable partnerships with relevant stakeholders since it cannot manage elections alone. Dr. Farai Jang believes though the EC is insulated from influence, it needs to be well equipped to play the leading role in consolidating electoral democracy.
That even though by law the Electoral Commission plays a leading role in establishing electoral democracy, it cannot do so all alone. It must, of necessity, build durable partnerships with relevant stakeholders. If my view is correct, our first concern should be whether, as an institution, the Electoral Commission is well equipped to play the lead role in consolidating electoral democracy. Mr. Moderator, for an election management body to be able to function well, it needs a sound legal framework and adequate operational capacity. How does the Electoral Commission of Ghana measure to this test? In terms of the legal framework, in doing its work, the Commission is insulated from the direction or control of any person or authority. The functions and powers of the Commission and the requirements for people to participate in electoral activities are clearly spelled out. There is security of tenure for the commissioners and technical staff alike against summary dismissal. The Commission has power to make subsidiary legislation in furtherance of this work. There are mechanisms for the resolution of election disputes, including access to the courts. The expenses of the Commission are charged on the Consolidated Fund, and the Commission hires its own workers in consultation with the Public Services Commission.
The NDC's Director of Elections, Samuel Ofosu-Ampofo, on his part, touched on the issue of vigilantism in the electoral process. According to him, the current government has done little to deal with the issue that keeps recurring even after elections. Mr. Ofosu-Ampofo thinks it is not right for any political party to be associated with such vigilante groups.
Situation where a political party comes to own the group and say they are part of our party structure. And all of us know from that time to this time the effect of vigilantism on the democratic governance of our system. So I think that you indicated and mentioned Azoka and others. In fact, as far as I'm concerned, before 2016 election, NDC did not endorse any group, and we disbanded every group of people who call themselves security or whatever it is. And it is on record that the NDC never associated itself officially with any group, contrary to the MPP, which came out and owned the Delta forces and then the invisible forces and others. And all of us know the havoc that they have wreaked so far. So vigilantism, I'll speak against it. And I will say that what we need to do is to strengthen the security agencies, especially on election day. I'll give you an example that in Dapa West Achim constituency, people nearly hijacked the collation room. Upper West Achim constituency. They nearly hijacked the others. Vigilante groups nearly hijacked the collation of the votes until the electoral officer decided to carry all the materials and send them to Koforidua under security protection for.
Peter McMenu, who chairs the elections of the governing New Patriotic Party, believes Ghana's electoral system has improved tremendously but can do more to consolidate the country's democracy.
From 1992, I have observed that every election has seen an improvement over the previous one because new technology, new models are introduced. For example, this very law that says post the election results at the polling station, it was introduced into our election processes for the first time. Hitherto, it was only given to the polling agent, but not posted at the polling station. And for me, this is an improvement over the previous one, where a polling station agent can just take it and run away with it or whatever. Okay? But once it is posted at the polling station, which is also the world or global best practice, because you go to other jurisdictions, that is what is done. He went to Zimbabwe, ask him. You go to Liberia, they do it. Nigeria, they do it. Kenya, they do it. So why is Ghana not doing it? We have to also, and as I said in my presentation, if we are number 3 on Africa as conducting one of the best elections ahead of 42 or so countries, then the global best practices, we must do it. So this is an improvement over the 2012 CI, which was CI 92.
We're taking a break here and joining us from still ahead. Finance Minister fights off claims the collapse of 7 indigenous banks in the past year is part of a government witch hunt.
Clearly should not be about witch hunting, but about cleaning the system. There's no need to create panic in the economy. We have it under control.
He was speaking at a forum on the banking crisis where government was cautioned not to rush to prosecute the persons found culpable.
White-collar issues and white-collar crimes are some of the most difficult to prosecute. If you make a mistake and you lose one, you've lost your motive.
It comes even as shareholders of the now defunct Unibank take on the Bank of Ghana over the revocation of their license. We have that coming up to the break station. Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta has fought off claims the Bank of Ghana's collapse of some indigenous banks was a witch hunt, explaining government's only interest has been to ensure depositors' funds are safe. There have been suggestions in the wake of the collapse of the 7 indigenous banks in the past year that the regulator has not dealt fairly with the shareholders. Dr. Kwabena Dufo has filed legal action against the Bank of Ghana over the revocation of the license of Unibank. Mr. Ofori-Atta, who was contributing to a forum on the banking crisis organized by the Dankwa Institute, said government is only interested in having a strong financial sector. There is more in the following report.
There was a lot of frank talk by the panelists about the severity of what had happened in a country's financial sector.
You are banned from giving contracts to them unless the contracts are on completely commercial terms. And so if your son's company is providing services to the bank, you can't give it to them on preferential terms. They can't charge you more than the market will charge you. And if you do that, you have sinned against the law. You should go to jail. Why are we having a long discussion on this?
Deputy Finance Minister Charles Edubwai says government had no choice but to allow the cleanup of the rot as it was negatively impacting the economy.
But when people start creating capital out of thin air in order to get a license, then you have transcended the realm of banking and you're now in the realm of magic, you know, and then it becomes a problem, because if you start a whole bank on the premise of thin air, there's no way you can do any banking. So it just becomes a downward spiral from day one. That for me is a Ponzi scheme, and it should be seen as that.
Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta explained the revocation of the licenses of the insolvent banks was done with the full backing of government.
This clearly should not be about witch hunting, but about cleaning the system. There's no need to create panic in the economy. We have it under control. We are confident that we will be able to emerge out of this much stronger and more robust sense of financial services in this country.
Private legal practitioner Ace Annan Nkrumah has meanwhile cautioned any attempt at prosecuting those culpable that is not well thought through could backfire with serious ramifications.
I know enough to know that white-collar issues and white-collar crimes are some of the most difficult to prosecute. If you make a mistake and you lose one, you've lost your mojo. So watch Mueller and what he's doing in the US, slowly, very slowly. But when he hits, he files 18 charges, knowing that even one can take you to jail for 10 years.
He also explained the pro-parliament is contemplating could end up being a talk shop that may expose the suspected wrongdoers, but harm any chance of having them prosecuted.
There's some rule which seems to suggest that if there's an inquiry, a commission of inquiry, I believe under Article 258, the witnesses then get immunity. If you remember the Ghana 50 case, that we only discovered immunity after the case for the prosecution has closed. Then one becomes very worried when Parliament is getting involved in these matters. And if Parliament is going to do it, we need a public inquiry.
Deputy Finance Minister Charles Edubwai described as troubling the tendency for BOG officials to end up as shareholders of commercial banks because of the ethical issues it presents.
There are conflicts. There are various issues of conflicts and moral hazards. I mean, if I was a regulator, you understand what I'm saying, I might decide to withhold somebody's license because he came and showed me his business plan and he was going to do the same type of banking that I would like to do when I leave. And so therefore I might impede his progress or refuse him a license and then turn around and use his same business plan once I get out of the bank to set up my own bank. And it's happened before in the past.
So how do you address it going forward?
You put it in the law. I think right now it's there. I think, you know, if you're a governor, you can't own a bank or be a shareholder in a bank for 5 years after you leave the governorship.
It's not clear, though, to what extent the BOG and government intends to enforce this law.
We're taking a break to bring you business news. And coming up in business news, Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta indicates plans to merge ADB and NIB banks have not been abandoned and reiterates government's commitment to creating large banks to support the economy. Also, later on in the bulletin, standoff between indigenous traders and their foreign counterparts emerge in the Brong Ahafo regional capital.
And we will fight for that right. Hello again, good evening to you. Welcome to Business. Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta has indicated that plans to merge NIB and ADB banks to create a development bank have not been abandoned. Speaking at the Dankwa Institute Forum on the banking sector, the Finance Minister noted that the government is still committed to creating large banks to support the economy.
President was very clear about where the policies stood, and his key thing when we are always bringing economic policy is leave the little people alone, okay? And it's a constant theme that he has, and that reinforces the direction in which we are going. As I look forward to this opportunity, is that, well, what do you need? Do we need, Canada has 5 banks. Nigeria has 25. Do we need 34? And we don't. But do we need Ghanaians to participate in the financial industry? We do, you know. But what type of Ghanaian should be in the financial industry? And that's a fit and proper test that has to come through. So as we envision it right now from the ministry, we are expecting the Consolidated Development Bank, Consolidated Bank would become, you know, sort of equivalent to GCB, grow stronger with it, and that will be that. I think there are a whole bunch of indigenous banks, about 5, 6 of them, who have begun discussions on merger so that by the end of the year they can meet that. And we need to find a way to support that so they can maybe potentially concentrate on sort of a SME financing, which is key to our development. And that's what creates a vibrancy in the economy. Then I did mention that we're looking at NIB, ADB coming together. I think we are still on that course to do that, because at the core of that will then be creating, you know, that capacity to look at this whole industrialization, 1D, 1F, in an organized and structured way of a strong institution that does that. So aggregate industrialization would be taken off. Then, of course, I have what I call GERSL, which was to create a guarantee system to be able to support AGRIC. We may have to look at that and see whether that can also be even further strengthened so that we have another development bank that, you know, moves us forward beyond, you know, the small industries that we'll be able to do.
Meanwhile, the World Bank has lauded measures taken by the central bank to sanitize the banking sector. Country Director of the World Bank, Henry Kerali, in an interview with Joy Business, noted that the move is a good one. He advised aggrieved shareholders of the defunct banks to use the necessary structures to seek redress if not satisfied with the Bank of Ghana's actions.
I have seen the actions taken by Bank of Ghana in resolving 5 banks that were failing, or I should say ailing. This is a welcome piece of action, because without that it could have impacted the broader financial sector in Ghana. So we do welcome the actions taken by Bank of Ghana, and we look forward to working with them to further strengthen the remaining banks and also the new consolidated bank to ensure that depositors' funds are safe.
What of the argument that some of the shareholders claim the central bank have not been fair to them?
These are issues that they have several avenues of recourse. There are avenues to go through the legal system where necessary, and they have the right, obviously, to go to the legal channels to resolve that. But I cannot speak for actions taken by Bank of Ghana. All I can say is that the legal systems in Ghana are robust enough to be able to address any problems that are left over.
And away from that, the local currency has again started depreciating sharply against the US dollar. The cedi, which used to sell around 4 cedis 80 pesos, is now selling at 4 cedis 87 pesos. What has contributed to this sharp fall in the cedi's value and possible implications on the economy? There's more in this report.
The city's challenge, according to currency dealers, has more to do with limited supply of dollars into the market. This is despite the surge in demand from business to finance their imports. Some industry watchers are worried that the regulator is not equally releasing enough dollars to match market demand. Joy Business checks show that the Bank of Ghana's dollar reserves as of June ending stood at $7.2 billion, while depreciation from January to date stands at 7.2%, according to Ecobank research. The development, if it persists, could impact negatively on the cost of living, as well as credit and even the general price levels of goods and services. For instance, most importers of petroleum products have told Joy Business that the recent increase in the prices of petroleum products was as a result of the city's sustained depreciation.
Now, state insurance company SIC says it is restructuring its claims payment regime with new ICT platforms to improve premium payments. Managing Director Stephen Oduro says the initiative will reduce paperwork transactions and fast-track processes. This has become necessary because of frustration and delays in payments of insurance claims because agencies like the police, hospitals and courts do not conclude the work on said cases early. Prince Appiah has details in this report.
At an appreciation dinner held for clients in Kumasi, the managing director, Stephen Oduro, revealed the company is introducing a new ICT platform to improve premium payment.
In the area of claims, we have restructured our claims processes into a customer-focused and client-friendly procedure aimed at giving you value for money. The company has further approved a fast-track claims payment system to enable clients to receive claims checked much earlier than before. In the next few weeks, we shall roll out a number of services which we believe will bring us much closer to you and revolutionize our service delivery. This will include an ICT-powered payment platform that is designed to make premium payment much more convenient for clients and also to make your claims much faster with less paperwork.
The occasion was also used to celebrate and say farewell to the outgoing area manager, Mrs. Jifa Kaukumi, who is retiring after 27 years of dedicated service to SIC. The purpose was to show appreciation for loyalty and commitment. It also offered the platform for management to interact with clients and deepen their business relations. Mrs. Kaukumi says clients in the Ashanti area can get claims paid instantly with the new system.
We have taken steps to streamline our claims processes such that claims will be processed and paid promptly. To this end, management has instituted a float in my office here in Kumasi to promptly pay claims of certain amounts. Now, when your claim is processed and you sign the discharge form, you can instantly get the check paid. Again, for the big claims that have to be sent to Accra for payment, the processes have been streamlined to ensure that these are done within just a few weeks.
Prince Appiah reporting.
And that's all in business on Joy News Prime. But for more business news, you can log on to myjoyonline.com/business. My name is Emmanuel Apuaji Riafi. Have a good evening.
General Secretary of the National Democratic Congress, Johnson Essiedu Nketia, has been cautioning the leadership of the party to refrain from responding to comments that put the party in bad light. Mr. Essiedu Nketia fears the trend will complicate matters within the party. Speaking to Joy News, he appealed to members to rather refer conduct of persons whose comments or actions are hurting the party to the appropriate authorities for redress.
He has indicated his intention to submit a letter to my office tomorrow.
I see.
Yeah.
I see.
That will carry his intentions to contest.
And the party is ready to receive the letter?
I've received 9 already, so if the 10th is coming, who am I to say yes or no? I'm unable to concentrate my comments on one of the flag bearers contestants.
Right.
So if we are talking about principles about the contest and so on, we can talk about it.
Right, so the principle about the contest.
We have indicated that the contest should be civil, with the language must be decorous and so on, and that those who flout the rules, they will be called to order, and we are not going to compromise on that. I am aware that there have been comments from Alban Bagbin which has been seen as distasteful.
Right.
So what we are going to do is to look for the facts, establish the facts about what was said, and then to weigh those facts and see whether they infringe any of our rules. And if so, then the appropriate measures will be taken to redress that.
Well, former President John Dramani Mahama, as she heard, is set to officially make his intention of contesting the flag bearership of the opposition National Democratic Congress known on Thursday. According to national organizer of the party, the office of the former president informed the party of his intention to lead it in the 2020 general elections. Mr. Kofi Adams has also been telling Joy News failure to declare intention to contest does not in any way stop one from going ahead to pick nomination forms.
God willing, tomorrow we have not opened nominations for the flag bearership yet. People must not confuse what we have asked them to do as opening of nominations. BS is just to put in a letter indicating that they intend to offer themselves for this position. When nominations are open, they will pick nominations. And so that is what is going on. So it is not opening of nominations. One may choose to even stay until maybe nominations are open before he or she will come up. It doesn't mean that if you don't declare intention today, you cannot come up tomorrow when nominations get open. But from the information we have received from the office of former President Mahama, tomorrow, God willing, 11 a.m., he will be submitting his letter of intent to the party at the party's headquarters at Adabraka.
Ahead of Thursday's visit to the party, though, former President John Dramani Mahama on Wednesday called on the founder of the National Democratic Congress at his office in Accra. The two former presidents centered their discussions on the reorganization of the party, the upcoming regional and national executive elections, as well as the presidential primaries for the party. President Mahama stated the need to consult the founder on party issues and commended him for re-energizing the party's council of elders and participating actively in its meetings. He indicated that a re-energized council of elders will instill a stronger sense of order in the party structure. On his part, President Rawlings expressed the hope that candidates with the ability to and capacity would be allowed to evolve from the electoral processes in the party. He stated that he would not be a stumbling block to any candidate in the upcoming elections. He said he would have wished that more attention was given to the rebuilding of the party machinery over the prioritization of the party's presidential primaries at this moment. President Rawlings also found that recent utterance by the national organizer of the party, Kofi Adams, to the effect that a presidential candidate aspirant in the person of second Deputy Speaker of Parliament, Alban Bagbin, was out to destroy the party as inaccurate. He posited that the destruction of the party began especially when the party unduly interfered in the last competitive presidential primary elections in Sunyani by the systemic, or what he describes as a systemic monetization of the process and the postponement of the Congress on 2 occasions, ostensibly to favor one candidate over the others. And you can get to my Joy Online and read the rest of the story there. Tension is mounting in Sunyani as where the Brong-Ahafo branch of the Ghana Association of Garages has issued a 3-day ultimatum for government to enforce the laws on the ban of foreigners engaged in the retail trade. According to them, they will force foreigners to close their shops after the ultimatum. They made the call at a press briefing at Sunyani Magazine Wednesday afternoon.
The Sunyani Magazine is a local industrial hub in the Brong-Ahafo region capital where anything vehicle can be found, bought or repaired. An increasing involvement of foreigners in retail and spare parts is becoming an issue amongst traders. Locals are fuming over the non-enforcement of laws by government. The over 5,000 frustrated members of the Bonafo branch of the Ghana Association of Garages say they will not look on for the foreigners who by law are permitted to engage in wholesale business only take over their retail business. The group also accuses some Nigerians of engaging in petty trading. Chairman of the Sunyani Municipal Association of the Ghana National Association of Garages, Osei Tutu Augustine, tells Joy News they will close all foreign-owned shops if they don't obey the laws of the land.
The laws are the same everywhere. If we don't take care, the retailers will come to Sunyani to trade. We want the foreigners to come and engage in wholesale business and leave the retail business for us. We are giving them a 2-day ultimatum to rescind their decision. Otherwise, we'll go on a demonstration.
The PRO of the Spare Parts Association, Tichi Samuel, also says their action is to protect their businesses and called on government to intervene.
We want to protect our work. This is what we are doing. We don't want any trouble. That is why we are giving them up to Friday that they should close their shop. If not, we will close it for them. That is our argument. When they came here, they started saying we are doing supply. We'll give them less, somebody will give them less. Within 1 month, they have all the moving goods. They will supply it to you 80 cedis and they will sell it 70 cedis. My brother, if not Ghana, where can you do this? All that we are arguing is that the retailing is for Ghanaians, and we will fight for that right. We will fight for our right.
Some members of the association who spoke to Joy News say the Nigerians are pushing them out of business and they lack the financial muscle to compete with them. Precious Semevos report for Joy News.
The armed robbers who killed a mobile money merchant Monday evening at Asylum Down in Accra apparently also attempted to rob a forex bureau that evening at Adabraka. A worker there has been narrating to Joy News how they went to hide in an office where the armed robbers attempted to break into with a gun. He says they fled on a motorbike after firing some warning shots. Joy News' Maxwell Agbagba has more.
A worker at the Forex Bureau has been narrating to Joy News the frightening moment one of the robbers attempted breaking into their office with one of their guns. The imprint from the gun that was used is still visible on the office door.
They were watching a Liverpool football match. So after the match, we decided to close. So I was just quickly going outside to lock the door, and I saw someone entering the bureau. Then I saw second one coming with a gun. Just pushed the first one to hit the wall. And I ran quickly into my boss' office. Shut the door, and we are at the back of the door, struggling with them. They push, then we push, they push, then we push. Then we started doing what? Shouting. I'm robbing, robbers attacking us, robbers attacking us. So people in the neighborhood started shouting. Before the armed robbers ran away. The police people came here came for their masks, their shoes, everything to the station with the bullets.
What did they leave here? Their mask?
They leave their mask. They were wearing a mask. They leave everything here. They tried breaking into the office, but we couldn't give them that chance. We don't know what will happen when we give them that chance to enter the office. We don't know.
I've also been speaking to an eyewitness. He is calling for the Ghana Police Service to ban the use of motorbikes after 6 p.m. It says the robbers escaped on a motorbike.
Getting run up before 7 o'clock, and I wanted to come and park the car in the house. And then the motor was parked behind me. So I told them that I want to go out. And so I went out, they parked the motor, and then I went out. I went around and came back. When I came, the police entrance was clear, so I went and parked my car. And then I went upstairs. Later on that, I heard noise. and I came down. When I came down, they said armed robbers have been here. The government should ban them, or give them, if they can't ban them, they should give them curfew, 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock. If they see any motor on the night or that time, they should arrest it and give it to the police to distribute it to outside police stations to work with. That's the only way they can stop this thing. Daylight like this, they can't do that kind of things. If they do it at all, they can catch them or they can see them.
Well, the shooting to death of a mobile money vendor on Monday night at Asylum down here in Accra appears to have caused some panic amongst vendors in the Ashanti region capital, Kumasi. Though a number of the vendors have taken steps to secure their shops following a series of attacks in the city, they say the fear of attacks by robbers continues to haunt them. Nanaya Aljima has more.
Early this year, Kumasi experienced similar instances of attack, resulting in death and injury to victims, besides losing their money. Though this prompted some to improve security in the form of moving into cages and shops for their operations, they still feel unsafe. Most vendors have now reduced the amount of cash they carry daily for their business. This has slowed down business for many, but they see it as one of the measures to reduce the losses they may incur if there's an attack. Others have resorted to closing earlier than before. In spite of these, they still feel exposed to danger. They spoke to Love News on anonymity.
Because you don't know, maybe at night who is watching you. And you can't carry a huge amount to do this business because of the risk in it. So definitely you have to reduce it. So we managed to do through maybe merchant to merchant. When you need money, maybe in the e-cash form, maybe you call the other merchant to send you the money and you go and pay it back. You don't have to put in so much money into it. Because of the security measures, we don't have much protection like the banks and the other rest. This is just a small micro money transfer.
When it is 5:30 p.m. and you come to send or withdraw money, I will tell you I don't have money. I will do it only if I know you very well. If I don't know you, there's no way I'm going to transact business with you.
So what are you still doing here? If you are not selling at 5:30 or you are not providing services after 5, why do you still stay in your shop?
5:30. At 5:30, I'll be closing. So I'll be preparing. I'll be doing my checks and balance.
Yeah.
The umbrella, why?
Because here, when you are even checking money, they don't see the kind of money you have. But the umbrella is too exposed to the extent, say, if you're even checking money, people see the money you have inside your thing. So I think here is safe better than that place.
Attacks have occurred in both secured and open operational environments. Vendors say there is little or nothing they can do about being targeted.
It's about your own instincts, using your own instinct to do it. Because sometimes you can see somebody, you just see the person and you think that this person is like, you're not trustworthy, the way the person is interacting with you. Sometimes, it's like we have no protection.
Yes, I think each and every one of us is at risk. No matter where you are, whether on table or in a container or even in a store, you are at risk. And I think there are some measures we have to put in place to avert these attacks.
Nanaya Aljima reporting.
And you're watching Joy News Prime. The Ghana Tourism Authority is embarking on an exercise to close down all illegal tourism and hospitality enterprises in the Eastern region. The exercise would affect 50 enterprises, including hotels, guest houses, lodges, restaurants, among others. For a start, the authority has closed down 7 of such facilities that operated without certification. Correspondent Kofi Sian was with the enforcement team and has filed this report. Go back to our earlier story where the Ghana Tourism Authority is embarking on an exercise to close down all illegal tourism and hospitality enterprises in the Eastern region. The exercise would affect 50 enterprises, including hotels, guest houses, lodges, restaurants, among others. For a start, the authority has closed down 7 of such facilities that operated without certification. Correspondent Kofi Sian was with the enforcement team and has filed this report.
The enforcement exercise started at Akwemufie, where officials of the Tourism Authority got furious because owner of Rehoboth Guest House had disregarded a notice of closure and was in full operation.
Do the right thing. I know that. Since you closed it, I've not been using it, so I decided that I will come there.
With the support of the police, GT officials led by its regional manager, Frederick J. Rudolph, locked up the rooms and posted a new notice. This time, they have served a notice to prosecute owners who will go against their directive.
The next step is that as we go around, we give them a binding document, and the binding document is a legal document that we make all the operators sign. It states in it that if you fail to do what you are supposed to do, that is to regularize your operation and be given a valid operational license, you'll be prosecuted. So we've given them some time to come and start the process. If it gets to a certain period and we realize that they are still not willing, then we might have to submit their names to our legal department to take it up.
The clampdown exercise also affected the Ofienifie Guest House in Akwemufie, Shai Hills Hotel in Somenya, Canasco Hotel in Aseswa, and Exclusive Hotel in Odumasekrobo. The rest are Nyamia Kwancho Bar, Bazaar Drinking Spot at Pong, and another at Atimpoku. Some of these facilities failed to comply despite prior notice of the clampdown exercise. Owner of the Nyamia Kwancho Bar, Mr. Mensah, is one of them.
Don't you see, last week, I've been playing it, and they came here last week. I wasn't around. I've traveled for outside. I'm going to buy both at the villages. And they asked me, my daughter, to give them money, and I told them they just started work. Because I was here, as soon as I left to the village, that they came and then they called me. They said I should ask my daughter to give them money. But then they don't have any money with them. So what do I do? Boss. And I talked to them peacefully. I didn't fight with them. So if you ask me to come to Bobodo and pay it, so is it I alone that you want me here?
The regional manager, J. Rudolph, says the exercise will continue until proponents comply with the law.
Yes, the Tourism Act 817 and the requisite airlines, that is LI 2238 and then 2239, stipulates that all hospitality facilities should have a valid operational license from Ghana Tourism Authority. Valid means that if you are operating in the year 2018, it means you should have a license that allows you to operate for 2018. What we are doing now is that we are clamping down on all facilities that are not licensed or do not have a valid operational license by the Ghana Tourism Authority. The ones that we have in our books is about 50. But you and I know that we have more than 50. So as we go along our operations, if we come across anyone that we don't have on the list, we still enforce closure. But across the region, we have about 50 units that we envisage will close down by the end of the operation. Great worry, because we cannot guarantee the safety of patrons that's actually patronizing this kind of facility. We cannot assure them that they will be given quality service delivery or standard wherever they go. So it's a great worry. If others are doing the right thing by operating within the ambience of the law and others are flouting the law, it's a great concern to us. And as I said, it's also a disservice to the patrons and those that are actually doing things within the law.
Kofi Sian reporting from Atimpoku.
That's it for the bulletin. My name is Israel. Thank you very much for watching. Any other good night.
This is Joy News Prime.